welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July the 2nd, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing okay. The hits, they keep on coming, but we'll get to that in a quick second. Overall, though, my day was good. We got up, I'm still dealing with the wrist a bit, still a little bit painful, but overall fine. We get to work. Work wasn't too crazy, very manageable. At some point, we wound up having to do a tornado drill. So that was fun, getting, crowded in like the first floor random, we have like aisles that we kind of like makeshift aisles, I should say, where I guess we're supposed to like shelter during the process. So that was fun. But I think I would say around then it's when I kind of noticed something else was happening to me that kind of started ruining my day. Perhaps even my whole July. We'll see. No, I started getting sick. Like I started feeling like icky. Like, why does my throat feel funny? Why am I so snotty? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm getting a summer cold. So yeah, love that for me. That being said, we motored through the rest of our shift. Then we went to the gym. Gym was fine, not too bad. Once again, I'm really glad that, even though my wrist and hand have been hurting, I've been able to get through now 2 sessions with that. So that's good. I'm hoping that it just continues to get better. So yeah, knock on wood for that. But yeah, I proceeded to come home and I was like, well, we'll do the litmus test of let's take a nap and then see how we feel when we wake up. And sure enough, I woke up like even more congested. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's looking like a cold situation in July. So it's a bit of a bummer, a bit of a bunker buster from my weekend plans, potentially, probably. But, it just is what it is. Like I said, I think I spent a lot of June just feeling sorry for myself, kind of stacking it up. And then that led to me getting really upset, towards the very end. So I'm trying not to do that again. I'm trying just to take things in stride. Sometimes it rains and it pours, but eventually you'll see some dry. You'll see some sun. It'll be all good. So, there's that. Let's see here. Oh, 2 things. One, food corner. I did have a really good food corner to kind of treat myself. Like I had been saying, I've been going through it, and I was like, you know what, you do deserve a treat. You got a new refrigerator, let's treat yourself. So when I was at the grocery store, I picked up some ground beef, I picked up some chicken, and then I picked up a Chinese eggplant and then a red sweet potato. So I proceeded to put all of this into the the OG food bowl that we've been eating. And it was very yummy. It was so good. It was my first time trying a Chinese eggplant, and I air fried it. Very good. Had a nice texture, nice taste. It was really yummy. And then putting it all together, it was one of those things where I'm like, yo, this is almost too yummy. This is one of those things where I couldn't eat it every day because it would just be probably a little bit too much calories for what I'm looking for. But you almost can't even appreciate some of the individual flavors in here because they're just all overlaying on each other. It was nice, but almost, like I said, too nice. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. I might cook that one more time before I completely lose my sense of taste. You know what I mean? But yeah, so there was that food corner that I would say, hey, good news, love that, yummy, yummy. And then also a bit of corrections about the big, beautiful bill shit, the Senate shit. Lisa Murkowski, the person who kind of, I would say, flipped. I would say even more so traded out the American people for her constituents, which maybe if for some people well, at least she did right by her people in Alaska. Okay, but you actively knew this bill was bad and you let was it John Thune, majority leader, probably other Republicans or whatever, convince you or give you deals that were like specific carve outs for Alaska. And once again, that everyone else is not getting this. Like other, states are not going to get this kind of carve out, and those people are going to suffer. They're going to be losing their Medicaid. So very fucked up that she was just kind of able to be like, no, that's fine, that'll work for me. But yeah, this is a bad bill. Sure, they should do something about that. Like you could have done something about that. So, boo that woman. Tomato town for that woman. Tomato town for honestly the whole fucking system. All Congress deserves a big fat juicy tomato. But yeah, I just wanted to get that corrections corner, and I put that in my description stuff or whatever. But I figured I'd just go ahead and run it now there. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup. Let's get into some news. We actually have a lot to cover. Some big shit hit the pipe today. No alcohol today. Just the one thing and some water. Whew. All right. First story comes from USA Today. Sean Diddy Combs remains in jail after verdict. Judge denies bail. Sean Diddy Combs will remain in a Brooklyn cell after being convicted of 2 criminal charges. The 55-year-old has spent nearly 10 months in jail, including during his 2-month trial. On July 2nd, hours after Combs and his lawyer celebrated being cleared of the top criminal charges he faced, U.S. District Court Judge Aaron Subramanian, whatever, denied bail for Combs, issuing an order to keep him incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center until his sentencing. It is impossible for the defendant to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he poses no danger. As he explained his decision, Subramanian referenced the anonymous ex-girlfriend Jane's testimony that Combs choked and dragged her during an argument when Combs was aware of the active federal investigation into his conduct. He also noted that Combs' team admitted we own the domestic violence in regards to Cassie Ventura Fine's allegations of long-term abuse. Also worth noting too, because I mean we kind of didn't hit too much on it, and I said I was going to do at least bits of recap. I would say the biggest speakers in the case was the Jane Doe. They didn't have her name put up. There was also an assistant that said she was assaulted by Combs. I believe sexually assaulted. I think they just had her under the name Mia. And then I would say like the highlight, like main crux of the case, star witness, if you will, was Cassie Ventura. There were some other people as well that, were talked to. Diddy did not take the stand. But yeah, let's kind of, I guess, get into a little bit more. Hours earlier, Combs was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation of his then girlfriends, Jane and Ventura Fine, as well as sex workers to engage in prostitution. But that being said, there was 2 counts that he was found guilty on. The other 3, not guilty. I was actually in my break room, first break of the day, and I saw this was on the television, and I was like, hold up, like, this is the verdict. Like, they're doing the verdict right now. And, like, it was me and maybe a couple other tables were kind of like, what the fuck? Because I think everyone expected him to get a lot more guilty verdicts. I think they expected a lot more time to be on the table for him. If I'm being personal, once again, I know I didn't follow the case super well, but we were in and out of the court system with this fucking podcast. I would say maybe the potentially, maybe weakest isn't the right word, but the hardest I think to prove was the trafficking and the prostitution stuff. I believe the prostitute stuff was like the first count. I felt like that was kind of the hardest thing to prove because you can definitely, yes, we all, I think from what we've seen, testimony, all that, like you can say, okay, definitively, this Sean Combs, this P. Diddy's not the guy we knew. He seems like a really fucked up guy. But like in a legal sense, like, okay, but did what he do, was he establishing like a prostitution ring that's like worthy of a RICO charge? I think some would say yes. And I'm not saying that the prosecution truly failed in that regard. I'm just saying it's hard, I think, to convince a jury potentially legally of that. I think especially in the situation because usually something like, a RICO style, case structure, whatever, you're looking at like certified criminals. We're talking like mobsters. We're talking like gang, organizations, whatever the fuck. And I think generally, you look at P. Diddy, you look at Sean Combs, you're like, well, this is a music guy. This is a music producer. It's the guy who makes you walk for cheesecake. Is he really the head of a, prostitution, sex trafficking ring? Or, is it more towards what he's saying, what his defense is saying, like, this is like kinky sex stuff, and yeah, he might have flew some people out and things might have gotten a little crazy, but everything was quote unquote consensual. Everything was on the level. But this is where I do feel like I felt like prosecution did a good job. They're like, I mean, okay, you can be consenting to this stuff, but then things can take a turn, can take an escalation. That is not legal. That is not okay. And I would agree with that. I would say that this dude was so freaky, it was fucking criminal. Like just like you can be so negligent, it can be fucking criminal. I don't think it's outside the realm of reason. But once again, you are using the parameters of like, I believe a RICO case to try to prove this. Maybe there's just members of the jury that just did not feel that way. There was also, talk in the deliberations that there was a bit of friction. There was at least like one juror who was kind of holding up the process, or not really holding up the process, but not really like listening to judge instructions. So I don't know. I mean, I really would love to hear, just something more from the jury. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose. Excuse me. Just to get some more insight. That would be very helpful, very informative here. Because my jaw definitely dropped when I saw he just got 2 convictions, just 2 guilty verdicts. As for how long he could be imprisoned, according to prosecutors, sentencing guidelines suggest a prison sentence of between 51 and 63 months for Combs' convicted charges. Submarinian proposed a sentencing date of Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m., and after Combs' team indicated a desire to move up the date, the judge ordered for the prosecution and defense to submit a joint proposal on expediting Combs' sentence. Now, this is one of those things where I feel like takes and opinions and like estimates of how much time he's going to get is changing, hour to hour. Like, initially, my first article I read was like, oh, they could have him out potentially even with time served. Like soon. And I was like, wait, for real? Like, I don't know about that. Cause I thought I looked at the charges and stuff and I'm like, I thought he should be facing at least 10 years for both. But maybe once the sentencing all hits and we get down to the nitty gritty, it will just be between that 51 to 63 months. He's already served 10 so far. And I imagine he's going to then get a few more months just hanging out until sentencing. So, who knows exactly how long this is going to be. We'll have to just wait until that time comes and we'll figure it out for sure. I definitely think this is very fucked. I do want to say, though, you definitely have to give credit to everyone who stood up. I mean, this is scary. I mean, this was a guy who, at least, hearing Kid Cudi's testimony, it's like you even kind of stand up to this guy. You tell this guy to potentially fuck off, or you date his ex. Like, you could get your fucking, house fucked with. You get your fucking shit blown up. Like, I guess you got added allegedly there. But, I mean, this is a scary, powerful man. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So, to be like, hey, this person, fucked up my life. Like, This person did something terrible to me, and I'm not just gonna let that slide. I'm not just gonna like let that be nothing. I'm not gonna be silent. So for Cassie, for the Jane Doe, for the assistant, anyone who stepped up in this trial to say, hey, I'm gonna do the right thing here. I'm gonna do the right thing by myself, for myself, whatever. That's commendable shit. It's not nothing. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, definitely a crazy verdict. I did not expect at all. I'm trying to think. Like once again, I kind of thought like, okay, maybe he gets like once again the racketeering, the trafficking. He might beat that. I was specifically thinking the racketeering he might be able to beat, just because I kind of thought that was loose. That might just be also my bias in terms of just I generally don't like whenever we're kind of using RICO to try to lock people up. It just always feels like you're throwing a blanket to try to like catch a fish, you're using the big net just to get like one fish or something like that. But that being said, in a situation like it is with P Diddy, I felt like, I get why prosecution's doing this. Obviously, they want to do slam dunks, and I think this case as a whole is a very important litmus test, marker, whatever, for the fate of Diddy in the future, because yes, he's got more lawsuits and stuff pending. I mean, that feels like every month there's a new chance or opportunity for some shit like that to drop and come out the woodwork. Some more fucking, Diddy atrocities. But in terms of like a state presented case, this was a flop. Like 2 out of 5 is not good. Like this is not something that they wanted. Essentially, they spent probably millions of state dollars on a prostitution case. That is not good. That is not a good look for state prosecution. They kind of have to take this as an L. I mean, and as they should. Once again, I really didn't follow the blow for blow on this case. From what I seemingly read and gathered, I don't think that the prosecution really laid a dud or anything like that, or they didn't try. It just seemed like, the information interpreted by the jury said, well, we're going to convict him on this stuff and this stuff only. I don't know. So yeah, like I said, I would love more details on this shit. Obviously crazy fucking outcome. Didn't expect it. I mean, he is going to get at least something, but we will see how long that something is. And actually, I guess I shouldn't even say that, because it might just be the time served, potentially. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Y'all know I'm no goddamn expert. But anyway, let's go ahead and move along. Our next story is from the Associated Press. I'm going to go ahead and just take a water break. I know I need it. Ugh. I know you're going to have to bear with me a little extra for the rest of this weekend and next, because I'm not my best self when I'm all snotty and slimy like this. Anyway, from the Associated Press, Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal majority strikes down a 176-year-old abortion ban. So I'm counting this as a bit of good news. The Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal majority struck down the state's 176-year-old abortion ban on Wednesday, ruling 4-3 that it was superseded by newer state laws regulating the procedure, including statutes that criminalize abortions only after a fetus can survive outside the womb. The ruling came as no surprise, given that that liberal justices control the court. One of them went so far as to promise to uphold abortion rights during her campaign 2 years ago, and they blasted the ban during oral arguments in November. The statute Wisconsin legislators adopted in 1849, widely interpreted as a near-total ban on abortions, made it a felony for anyone other than the mother or doctor in a medical emergency to destroy an unborn child. The ban was in effect until 1973, when the Supreme Court's landmark Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion nationwide nullified it. Legislators never officially repealed it, however, and conservatives argued that the U.S. Supreme Court's 2022 decision to overturn Roe reactivated it. So yeah, I mean, this is some stuff that I feel like is some good news coming out of Wisconsin. I think it just kind of goes to show that it's like, hey, there is still a bit of I don't even want to say liberalism, like it's something that's like a positive force here, but at least just something that's like fighting back against this big tide that has just been rolling for, what feels like years now, where it's like, yeah, Roe v. Wade is gone. Abortion is off the menu. You cannot do it. And, these rights are only going to get more and more stripped away. So to see something like this come up and actually be like, no, we're going to actually strip away an abortion ban, that's great. Even if it is at a state level, I think it's definitely something you got to count as a win and be happy to see. Let's see here. There was definitely some gripes from conservative, like since it was a 4-3 decision, obviously it was close. From the conservative angle, they're like, you guys are ignoring pretty much the actual will of the people, like the actual legislature, the overall Supreme Court. Like, you're just ignoring that, and you're playing politics. You're playing to your your Democratic constituents and not the people as a whole. To that I say boo, fuck you. It's funny how like any side's going to politicize it when they lose, and then when they win, it's like, well, isn't this just common sense? To me, it should be your body. It should be your goddamn choice, especially when we're talking over a bundle of goddamn cells, not a whole ass fucking, oh, it's a baby the second it's conceived, or even up to this point. But like, I like, once again, me personally, y'all know how I feel about this shit. You should be allowed to have the goddamn abortion. It is your body. It is your choice. So I'm happy to see this, be overturned by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Maybe if you're outside of Wisconsin, this can kind of seem like a fucking whatever burger, but you hope you see more of this in the future. So wanted to cover that. That might be, I think, the only bit of good news we really have for the episode. Let's go ahead and move on. We got to go to the Trump verse. We got to at least cover one. I feel like it's a big story. But from The Verge, Paramount agrees to pay Trump $16 million, clearing the way for multi-billion-dollar merger. Paramount has agreed to pay $16 million to resolve President Donald Trump's lawsuit against its subsidiary, CBS, clearing a path for the administration to approve the media giant's multi-billion-dollar merger with Skydance Media. In a statement seen by CNN on Tuesday night, Paramount said the settlement payment is inclusive of Trump's legal fees and costs, and that the money will be allocated to his future presidential library instead of being paid to Trump directly. Yeah, so that way it's not a bribe, everybody. It's not a bribe. This is all on the level, actually. Don't worry about it. The sum is below the $10 billion, later increased to $20 billion in damages sought by Trump when he filed the lawsuit in October, alleging that CBS News had deceptively edited a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris to mislead voters during the presidential elections. That's something we recently talked about with the Joe Rogan, Bernie Sanders interview conversation on the Rogan Experience, where Rogan's like, isn't that just so fucked up? Isn't that just so crazy? I guarantee you, he's not going to say fucking shit about this part, though. The fact that literally the fucking president just got a whole ass fucking bribe and got to skate away with it. Not the first time this has happened, by the way. Nah, Joe Rogan's, though, he's not biased. He just wants to see the best for the, American people. Of course. Like, I fucking hate this shit. I really do. It drives me fucking crazy that we are literally now doing this just completely face up now. Like, there's no closed doors or whatever. Like, Trump can just do this butt naked and unafraid. He just gets to get glazed off. He just gets to get fucking money and more power. And not just for this term. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about any kind of hypothetical, like, well, he's king for forever. Like, this is beneficial shit to him during and then after his presidency. Like, I'm not doing it for the money or anything like that, though. And this is just one example of that kind of bullshit. But it's definitely infuriating to me that you just literally have a company like Paramount that's capitulating to this because they have a big deal that they want to see done that could be blocked by the Trump administration. So it's like, well, we don't want to have our deal blocked, so we're going to make sure that this case gets done as soon as possible, as amicable as possible, which means we pay you what you want. We give you what you want. And essentially, too, with the settlement, it more or less, says, you know what, maybe we did fuck up. Maybe we did make a little bit of a mistake there. A bit of a oops-a-daisy with this Kamala Harris, thing, which is something that we've discussed about. No, you guys fucking didn't. Like, I personally do not feel like that. I feel like at the end of the day, you're going to do some fucking edits, and we're not doing this to fucking protect Kamala Harris's fucking image. We're doing this because it just makes sense to do. You're not going to have her rambling and da-da-da-da. Like, the points that you're trying to make here. You would do the same thing for goddamn Donald Trump. I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me out of pocket for that. Maybe. Whatever. Anyway. Let's see. Let's go get to my highlighted portion. While legal experts said the suit was baseless. So there you go. I'm not the only person who's like, this is just bullshit. Like, this is just Trump pulling something out of his goddamn sphincter and saying, yeah, you guys are trying to shaft me. Okay. It placed Paramount under pressure to appease the president as its drawn-out merger plans with Skydance require approval from the Trump administration. In a statement seen by CNN, Paramount said that this lawsuit is completely separate from and unrelated to the Skydance transaction and SEC approval process, and that it will abide by the legal process to defend our case. No, it definitely fucking is. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or you can just say you're capitulating to just the overall pressure that is a president. Like, you could say it might not be the specific issue, but in general, you want to be on this guy's good side. So you're going to just make the move. You can afford it. So you'd rather just do that and move on. Instead of, what some people might say is to do the fucking right thing and fight this shit because you're not wrong. You know that fucking 60 Minutes is not wrong for how they fucking conducted themselves. But at the end of the day, we all know we live in a society. And it's about that almighty goddamn dollar because it's a capitalist society. It's that icky one. So it just is what it is. None of this is really surprising. Once again, it's just so audacious. Like, it's just so face up for everybody to see. Like, Mans doesn't even have to, make an excuse for this kind of shit. He doesn't have to do any kind of rigmarole. Nothing. He just gets to accept the money. I mean, not directly, of course, but it's bullshit to me. It's utter fucking bullshit. But that's the times we live in, baby. Maybe times we've always lived in. Whatever. Anyway, I wanted to shoot off a couple of headlines. Yeah, maybe I might have lost them in the shuffle. I know one was the Trump administration stopped military aid to Ukraine. That was big. That was a thing that came up. And oh man, there was something else here, but it looks like I lost it. I'm gonna try to hit the refresh and see what happens. Might just be gone now. Yeah, Trump allies caught off guard by Pentagon's Ukraine weapon freeze. Yeah, it looks like I lost the other thing that I was gonna cover from the headlines thing. But we got two more stories that I wanted to cover. Oh, I think that's what it was. I pulled them up. Here we go. So there we go. I'm on it. I think I'm on it. Let's see here. One story here is from USA Today. Not a random act. This is not Trump related, by the way. This is some shooting stuff. Not a random act. Multiple people injured after Georgia mall shooting, authorities say. Several people, including a minor, were injured after a shooting at a mall in Savannah on July 2nd, authorities said. The Savannah Police Department responded to a shooting at Oglethorpe Mall on July 2nd. Public Information Officer Neil Pentilla confirmed to the Savannah Morning News, part of the USA Today network. Police received the call roughly an hour before 6:25 local time, reporting that there were several victims in the shooting, Pentilla said. 3 victims with non-life-threatening gunshot wounds were transported to Memorial Health University Medical Center by emergency medical service personnel. The Savannah Police Department confirmed on X. One of the victims is a minor, police said. 3 additional victims were also transported by emergency medical service personnel to Memorial Health University Medical Center for non-gunshot related medical complications. Let's see. So yeah, just wanted to mention that story. Let's move on to our last story. Hopefully I don't get paywalled here because it is the Los Angeles Times. Sometimes they be on some fuck shit. But before we go ahead and get into that, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll go ahead and close it out with some explosions. Going out with a bit of a bang, if you will. Oh boy. All right. From the Los Angeles Times. 7 people missing after explosions ripped through California fireworks warehouse, igniting wildfire. 7 people are missing in multiple explosions at a warehouse in Northern California that sent bright fireworks across the area and ignited a brush fire. The location is owned by an active pyrotechnics license holder, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Emergency crews were searching the property for the missing individuals Wednesday, and investigators were also surveying the area with drones. Authorities have not identified any of the missing, but relatives said there were some working at the warehouse. News footage showed the explosions were sparked by a fire at the pyrotechnics facility, which is in rural Yolo County community of Esparto, about 40 miles northwest of Sacramento. Residents in Esparto and some in Madison remained under evacuation order as of Wednesday afternoon due to the burning pyrotechnics materials. So obviously there's more details here, but I just wanted to mention that. Obviously very unfortunate. If I do get any updates in terms of the 7 missing and what are their fates, we'll be back for that. Obviously my condolences to anyone who going through this kind of situation right now. That's really sad. I know, over the years, I should say, there's been a lot of obviously fire activity in California. So something like this, and it sucks too because this is like before the holiday. You know what I mean? Like this is before the big 4th of July, the big booms. So definitely putting a damper on things in some way. But yeah, obviously unfortunate there. But condolences. I know we're closing out on a little bit of a sad, somber note, so I tried to add a little bit of levity where I could there. But yeah, that is where I will leave it for today. That's going to go ahead and be the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe on YouTube. That's a free action. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Hopefully a cool comment. Sharing is caring. Outside of the YouTube, I'm on TikTok. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts, whatever. Any of those platforms and more. Feel free to find me. Do all those respective things. And yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.